Hello, everyone. Just today, in this session, I will talk about two exercise problems on supply chain incentives and contracts. It's a continuation to our discussion from last week. Last week, remember, I introduced the decentralized context of the supply chain, the fact that the supply chain is composed of independent decision makers doing business with each other. And of course, their decision impact each other's decision. So one member's decision clearly influences the other's decision. And in that context, we looked at wholesale price contracts and buyback contracts and quantity flexibility contracts and revenue sharing contracts. So we are looking at this in the context of doing business between two supply chain members. One is a supplier, the other one is the buyer. And buyer is usually a retailer, supplier could be a wholesaler. But it can come up in different settings. We discussed about the benefits of a buyback contract and those kind of contracts because they create a mechanism to share the risk or spread the risk so that the overall supply chain performance in terms of production and revenue can be improved. In that respect, again, I went into some details of different type of contracts, as I mentioned, the buyback contract, the quantity flexibility contract, and revenue sharing contract. So today, and I solved a couple of examples already in class. What I want to do today, I want to solve the exercise questions that I already posted right under the on the Blackboard and under the course document section, folder lecture notes 9. You should see that there's a PDF. Let me just actually share my screen and go to there, not this one. Here. Okay, so this is our Blackboard page, and under lecture notes, you will see SC incentive examples and SC incentives example solutions. The solutions are already posted, but I would like to actually do it once again, recreate them in action rather than just throwing them out to you. So let's just open those questions. Let's just click on it and see what the questions are. There are two questions. One is more about buyback contract. The second one is a combination of maybe a buyback and revenue. So we will be covering in these two exercises buyback contracts and revenue sharing contracts. The quantity flexibility contracts are also important, but I'm not going to go into the mathematical or further details of the mathematical structure of those. As far as you're concerned, you should know what quantity flexibility contracts entail in general, but I don't intend to include in any time until we are done the semester any mathematical model or problem solving in regards to the quantity flexible contract. I will focus more on the buyback contracts and revenue sharing contracts. So, and also just before going into the details and solution, I also, at the end of this session, I intend to also introduce you the second part of your project, and you must be either finished or about to finish the first project. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and it was a good learning experience, and inspired you some about the managerial aspects of supply chain, as well as technical aspects. And then I believe the second part is going to be even more fun. So that will come at the end. Now let's go back to these exercises and start with the first one. All right, what does the first one say? Suppose that the retailer Snow Inc. Buys ski jackets from the Chinese manufacturer Jacket Co. Due to the short selling season and long delivery lead time for the ski jacket, this is a one-time purchase decision. Snow Inc. estimates the season's demand for one type of jacket to be normally distributed with mean 500 and standard deviation 100. Retail price for the jacket is, this is supposed to be $100. Let me see if I can fix this quickly. Well, not quickly, I guess. Let me first save this. Just bear with me. 1 minute. So let me go here. And then put it. Okay. This way I can edit it, you know. So, and then, yeah, this is supposed to be 100. I will post the updated version, the correct version. I just see that that's a typo. All right, so the retail price is $100. If not sold at the end of the season, Snow Inc. unloads them for $10 per jacket back to Jacket Co. Okay, and Jacket Co. So that's the buyback price for Jacket Co. Jacket Co. charges a wholesale price of $30 per jacket. Its per unit manufacturing cost is $12. How many jackets should Snow Inc. order, and what are the two firms' profits? If both firms were owned by the same company, how would these answers change? So let's just try and solve this problem. Again, the context is buyback contract. The buyback price is $10. So for this, I'm going to switch to my iPad. So let me stop sharing so that I can share from iPad. All right, so this is some kind of preliminary stuff is there. Again, we're solving exercise 1 from Blackboard lecture notes number 9. So we have Jacket Co. selling to Snow Wine. I get Jacket Co. The item costs $12 per unit, and sells to Snow Inc. for $30. And when Snow Inc. in return sells it to customers for $100 per unit. And again, there's a buyback price of $10. So this is a in this case, the buyback price, I mean, this is from the Snow Inc.'s perspective, this is an if-but problem. And here the buyback price basically corresponds to the salvage value. So there's nothing really new in this first part. To find the optimal quantity, all we need to do is just to compute the critical fractile or critical ratio. And that will be remember the good old formula, which is the Cu divided by Cu plus CO, and that will be P minus W. This is the underage, right? Because the company is losing this margin if Snow Inc., right, in the case of underage. Now divided by the overage, in that case, it's going to be P minus V. And if I plug the numbers, P is 100, W is 30, divided by wholesale price, 110, that's going to be 70 divided by 90, and that will be 0.778 or so. Now, of course, to do this, to calculate Q, we will need Z, right? Because the optimal Q now is mu plus Z sigma. We have the mu, which is 500, sigma is 100, but what is Z? Z is the value that corresponds to 0.778. For this, I need to use my Z table or Excel or some other calculator. In this particular case, I'm going to use Excel. I guess in an exam environment, of course, you're going to probably need to use the Z table. So if I look at my norm inverse, the probability is 0.778, 500, 100. I have 576. Let me write it here. Well, I guess if you want a Z value, you will find out that Z value is going to be 0. Also 0.77. Remember, this is a coincidence. Looks like the probability and the Z value is the same. But again, that's a coincidence. So then we're going to actually plug these values on 500 plus 0.77 times 100. And this is going to be approximately 577 jackets. So the question part, the first an answer to the first question is that Simcoe snowing snowing has incentive to order 577 units. Okay, let's just pin this. Now the next question says, okay, what are the profits under this setting? So we need to basically find answer the questions of what is the profit of the supplier and the retailer. So I'm going to use the notations S for the supplier and R for the retailer. And so pi S actually the checkout co. Now the checkout co, of course, the margin is W minus C and then sells the Q. But then it buys back, right? Buys back the unsold item. And what is the unsold item? 0 to Q, Q minus X, F of X, dx, right? So here, clearly, so this part here is the unsold part. So you will have unsold units when the demand is clearly below Q. And Q minus the demand is going to be your unsold values. Now, what about the profit function of the retailer? That will be now the P times sales, right? And what is the sales? From when the demand is from 0 to Q, the sale is equal to demand. But if the demand is from Q to infinity, the sale is Q. Because when demand is above your availability, well, obviously, you are going to sell only Q. Of course, minus WQ, which is what the wholesale price times the quantity you pay. But then there's the buyback. We already have buyback, right? Above 0 to Q. But in this case, whatever is negative in the case of supplier is now positive in the case of retailer, because it's a money transfer, right? From supplier to the retailer, and the rest is the same. All right, so we have the functions, but we need to now plug in the numbers. And remember, when we do that, we need to remember that the normal distribution PDF is 1 over sigma 2 pi square root e to the negative 1 over 2 x minus mu squared divided by sigma squared. And then we need to, of course, this is our f of x actually, right, in the functions that we use. Now, how do we calculate those functions? Use integral calculator. definite integral calculator, or MATLAB, or Maple, Mathematica, I guess, etc. for this part. Now, in this case, I'm going to now plug the numbers. Pi sub s is equal to W minus C. W is $30, remember, and the cost is $12. And how much do we sell? 577. Minus B is buyback price is 10. Now let me plug in 0 to 577. 577 minus x, f of x dx. So here the challenge is find the integral. What I can do here, go get a definite integral calculator. I can use Maple or MATLAB, but I guess I'm not going to deviate from what I've been doing with you in class so far. So let me share my now laptop so I can go and find myself a calculator. Let me see. All right. So, well, for this, I'm going to need, not this one. Yes, a calculator. Okay, so let me just go and find it. Online. Integral calculator, right? Definite. And I like the one that's by Wolfram. Yeah. All right, so here. All right, so here I'm gonna actually insert my function. My function is, remember, 577 minus x times exponential. No, not exponential yet. Divided by sigma, which is 100 times square root of 2 pi, all right, times exponential now minus 0.5, 1 over 2, but I'm going to put 0.5 here, times x minus, which is x minus mu. Yes, x minus mu, which is mu is 500 squared number. I'm just following the f of x formula, divided by sigma squared, which is 100 squared. I think I can close the parentheses here. And x is from 577 to infinity. Let's see. This is going to give me anything. 1266. Okay. So what did we do? Let's just review it again. I'm sorry. No. It's from 0 to. The buyback happens if I don't have enough, right? So yeah. Okay, now it makes sense. 89.66 or 89.67. So I can now go back to my iPad and plug the number back in. All right, let me just share this, share the screen. Well, share the screen. All right. Okay, now I can plug my numbers. So it's going to be 30 minus 12 is 18, right? 18,577 minus 10 times. What did you find? 89 something, right? It should be 8960, 8967. And if we do the calculation, it's going to be $9,489.30. So that will be the profit for the supplier. Now we need to go back to the retailer and calculate the profits for the retailer. It's just again plugging in the numbers. The retailer's profit is at the top of the screen, so it is going to be P. P is 100 times the expected sales. Again, I can go back to the Wolfram page and plug X f of X from 0 to Q, and then Q f of X from Q to infinity, and get the following numbers. 360.02 plus 127.32, and try to do it yourselves. Then WQ, which is 30 times 577, and then plus 10 times 89.68, which we already calculated before, right? It's again, it's a money transfer. And this is after mathematical calculations, turns out to be $32,320.70. So this is what the retailer makes as a profit. So the question is, together, how much they make, right? Together, which is pi s plus pi r, is equal to 41,810. In other words, 9,489 plus 32,320 is 41,810. The next question, if you remember from the document, is what if both companies were part of the same entity? In other words, they are together, they're not separate decision makers, and they're integrated. So if you were to call this like part A, right, I'm going to call the other one part B. Quantity and profits in the integrated or centralized channel. That's what we want to do. In that case, what basically changed is the critical ratio, because now our margin is different than the Snow Inc. Snow Inc.'s margin is P minus W, which is 100 minus 30 and $70. But here, because we own both companies, our margin is actually 100 minus 12, because $30 is money transferring from one pocket to another. Essentially our cost is $12. We both, remember, own both companies. We own both companies, so the cost of the item to us is 12, and we're selling in the market for 100. And of course, there is no buyback here. There's nobody to buy it back from, so it's not going to be P minus B, or B is 0 in this case, and divide by 100. So we are going to have 88 divided by 100.88 fractile, which corresponds to a Z value of 1.18. So then I can put the optimal as 500 mu plus Z sigma, which is 118 times 100. So this is 618 jackets. So instead of 577 units, we buy 618 jackets in the integrated channel. Very good. Now, how much money do we make under this setting? Of course, it is still the P times the sales, and sales are going to be from 0 to, remember, Q x over fx plus Q to infinity Q fx dx, and then minus CQ. That's it. Now I need to plug those numbers. When we plug those numbers, we will get 100 times 0 to 618 x fx, 618 to infinity Q, 618 f of x dx minus CQ, which is 12 times 618. And if we again use the online calculators, and we will get here 100 times 420.61. That's the first integral. The second integral is 75.54 minus 12 times 618, and the total is $42,199. Of course, as expected, the integrated channel makes more money. Compare that with 41,810. But buyback, without buyback, probably they're going to together make even less than 41,000. Not probably, I know that it will be less than 41,810. So this concludes the first question. Okay. In this case, I can go to the second question. Let's see what the second question says. Where's my PDF? Yep, here. Second question is a little bit longer. Let's see what it says. A movie studio sells the latest movie on DVD to Videos R Us at $10 per DVD. The marginal production cost for the movie studio is $1 per DVD. Videos R Us prices each DVD at $19.99 to its customers. DVDs are kept on the regular rack for a 1-month period, after which they are discounted down to $4.99. Videos R Us places a single order for DVDs. Its current forecast is that sales will be normally distributed with a mean of 10,000 and the standard deviation of 5,000. Question 1. How many DVDs should Videos R Us order? What's the expected profit? How many DVDs does it expect to sell at a discount? Now, here I'm just looking back. They are sold not back to the movie studio, but discounted to $4.99, and the implicit assumption that when you discount it to $4.99, they will sell for sure. So that is another newsboy setting, and $4.99 is the salvage value. All right, so we can do this. Let's now let me just switch to my iPad and then map some of this important information or the key information on my iPad, and then take it from there. All right. So let me share the screen, start broadcasting. All right, exercise 2. So there's in this case, the story is the movie studio, right, is selling this. Now we have the movie studio, right? And this is again my supplier, and their cost is $1. That will be C, and selling it for $10 to who? The retailer. In this case, the retailer is Videos R Us. I guess it's something like that, right? R, and then they sell it for $19.99, and then or $4.99. That's now the discard value or salvage value. I'm sorry, salvage. But this is main market, right? Where the demand is normal 10,000 and 5,000 is the standard deviation. So if this is the case, of course, again, how many video sources would order is a function of, again, the critical ratio, which is P minus W divided by P minus V. P minus W is 999, right? Well, let me just write 1999 minus 10 divided by 1999 minus 499. And that will be 0.666. And then the Z value that corresponds to this is 0.43. So if I know the Z value from the Z table, right, then I can go and calculate the quantity. Mu is going to be, it was 10,000. So Z is 0.43, and then sigma is 5,000, and that gives me 12,150 DVDs. So that's how many the retailer will order under this contractual agreement. And the question here to calculate the profits of the retailer, I guess, in this particular case. Let me just look at the question. It says, what is the expected profit for Videos R Us? How many DVDs does it expect to sell at a discount? Let's just look at the profit first. So this is retailer, of course. And we just, again, remember that will be P times, or actually, let me just go with the numbers as I go. I don't want to keep writing the same thing over and over again, right? We already have this general function written in the previous case. So the P is 1999, and about the sales from 0 to 12,150. We sell the demand. Beyond that, let me see, 1215 f of x dx, right? If it's from 12,150 to infinity. Now, so this is 1999. I mean, this is the sales. This is revenue, and of course, then there is the cost of procuring these items. Remember, $10 is wholesale price, so it's going to be 10 times how many? 12,150. And then the other part is the salvage value, which is basically $4.99 times if unsold. When do you have unsold? If the demand is from 0 to 12,150, we have unsold DVDs of 12,150 minus X. Actually, this part is this integral, the last integral here is the part of the question, because it says how many unsold items or how many units will be sold at discount, right? That's part of the question, if I'm not wrong. So When we again plug this into calculators, we will get the following. So we're going to have 1999, and the expected sales is going to be 4,845.45 plus 4,053.21 minus 10 times 12,150 plus 499 times 3,251.33. So this 3,251 is the expected number of sales at discount rates. So among this 12,150, about again 3,000 will be salvaged. The sales amount is going to be about close to 9,000. You can see from here. This is the sales, right? The regular sales, if you will, and this is discounted sales. And the total should be around 12,150. So in this case, plug in all those numbers, we will get $72,608.35, and you can confirm that. And then that's it, I guess. So we can look at part B now. What does part B say? Part B says, what is the profit that the studio makes given video hours action? Okay, the movie studio, right? So that will be pi s. Pi s is W minus C, the wholesale minus the cost times Q. That's it. There is no buyback, nothing. So it's a very straightforward calculation. In this case, $10 minus $1 times 12,150 has $109,350. That is what the movie studios are going to make under this setting. So that's part B. Let's see what part C asks for. Yeah, and you can follow from the file yourself. You will have a copy. I just want to save time, not to switch back from between my laptop and iPad. But C says a plan under discussion. Well, I think it's worth to do it because it's a mouthful. I need to check from my iPad that. I don't know, let's just stop. Where is this? Give me a minute. Okay, sorry about the pause. So I'm just trying to see if my screen is properly shared. Not yet. Okay, let me share it. There. Yes. Part C, a plan under discussion is for the studio to refund videos RS for dollars per DVD that does not sell during a 1 month period. As before, Videos R Us will discount them to $4.99 and sell any that remain. Under this plan, how many DVDs should Videos R Us order? What is the expected profit? How many DVDs does it expect to sell at a discount? What's the expected profit of the studio? Is this option preferable to the studio? Now, you need to be careful about here. This is a buyback contract, but actually the movie studio is not buying them back for $4. They're just paying for any unsold item for $4. They don't want the product back. Okay, so if an item is not sold at the end of the first month, and then somehow if you can document that, if video sellers can document that, movie studios will pay the retailer $4 per unit. then Videos R Us can turn and still sell the item at $4.99, discounted at $4.99, which means in total the salvage value is going to be $8.99 for the retailer. So that's basically the bottom line. So this is another buyback contract. So let's now switch back to the iPad and then tackle this part of the question. No. Okay. So in this case, P is $4. Now, in that case, of course, what is the P F of Q? F of Q is going to be P minus W. CU is still the same thing. But in this case, P minus V minus B, because now there's also, in addition to the salvage value, there is the buyback, which gives us, we plug those numbers, $9.99 divided by 11, which is 0.9082, and this will correspond to a approximate to a value of 1.33 Z. And if I plug that Q there, it's going to be 10,000 plus 1.33, and the standard deviation 5,000, and then we will get 16,650 DVDs. So now we have basically this much order, instead of 12,150, 16,650. Okay, so in this case, what are the profits? And we can, again, pi r is going to be, now remember, you have the general formula is P times the expected sales minus WQ and plus, instead of V plus B from 0 to Q, Q minus X, F of X dx. So again, you plug all those numbers, and I'm not going to go through that. The explicit version is online on your Blackboard, and when you plug, you will get $90,148.66. Now compare that to 72,000, right? In that case, under this contract, the Videos R Us better off. How about the supplier? Remember, the supplier's reservation profit, or the baseline, is 109,350. All right. So in that case, though, its function changes a little bit, right? W minus CQ, but then minus B, because there's a transfer B, right? 0 to Q, Q minus X, F of X dx. And again, when you plug all the numbers, you will get $122,396. Of course, they're better off, because 122,000 is definitely greater than 109,000. So this is a good this is a good contract. Both parties will be happy to implement this contract. All right, so let's now look at the last part of the example. Here we go. Here it says part D. Now this one is going to be revenue contract. Another plan is considered as an alternative. In this case, instead of refunding the unsold items, the studio drops her wholesale price from $10 to $7.50, and in return receives 20% of Videos R's revenue. Okay, so you say, hey, I'm going to sell this cheaper, but I want a share from your revenue. Revenue, not profit, revenue. Under this plan, how many DVDs should Video Stars order? What is the expected profit? How many DVDs does it expect to sell at a discount? What is the expected profit of the studio? Is this option preferable to both parties? Well, let's take a look at it. And going back to sharing. Cancel. All right, part D. Revenue sharing contract. Okay, so in this case, what is new is now the new W is now $7.5, not $10. And how do we then look at the profits? The profit of the retailer is going to be now, remember, she needs to pay 80% of her sale revenue to the movie studios. Of course, there is WQ. And then revenues from salvage. That's also, of course, you might have a special statement and detail in the contract saying that the revenue sharing only applies to regular cases, not the unsold items that we salvage at $4.99. But in this case, there is no such special wording in the statement of the problem. So I am applying 80% to the salvage revenue as one. Revenue is revenue, whether from regular sales or from salvage. So that's V, 80% of V. And then, of course, remember, this is 0 to Q, Q minus X, F of Fx dx. Now, in this case, what will be, it's all about basically and mainly and primarily to figure out the critical ratio. So now our margin, remember on the numerator, I'm sorry, you have the margin. Now the margin used to be P minus W in all cases, but now our margin is 0.8 P minus W. Of course, there's new W divided by 0.8 P, because effectively this is your marginal revenue, and minus 0.8 V. That is also the marginal salvage value for the retailer, only 80% of that. Now you plug all these, you're going to get 0.7077, and then the Z is going to be 0.55 approximately. And that will correspond to a 10,000 time plus 0.55, 5,000, and the result is going to be 12,750 DVDs. Now, this is higher than the original case, original wholesale price contract. That was 12,150. So, well, I mean, slightly above the order. But what we want to know, actually, the bottom line, in other words, when we plug these numbers to the profit function above, what do we find? Calculating the expected sales at this level when Q is 12,750, and then going through all those calculations, we will find $78,921.81. Now, is this better than the original contract? Let's go back. The original contract we make, here we go, 72,608. Here, they make 78,000. So better off? Well, of course, better off with respect to the wholesale price contract. Okay, but this is not a better option, obviously, for the retailer compared to the buyback contract defined in Part C. But how about the supplier's profit? Well, that one, in this case, of course, the revenue is there, PSQ, right? This is the 20% of the revenue from end market sales, and plus W minus CQ. Remember, that is what we sell. First, with the need W. So again, the revenue is 20% of the revenue of the retailer comes to this supplier. On top of that, of course, supplier's own margin. And then, of course, 20% of the salvage comes to this person as well. Maybe a better contract would be not to collect the 20% from the salvage. It will be interesting to look at that case too. I mean, I recommend you to play around and do that. So when we plug all these numbers, we will get $126,511.70. So this is the best option because remember, in the previous case, she's making 122,000. In the base case, she's making 109, whereas we have 126,000 here. So, basically, this is the best option. But this contract is not likely because the retailer may not. I mean, unless the supplier has an upper end that can enforce it. But otherwise, the retailer would just say, hey, you know, I'd rather do the buyback contract because under buyback contracts, I'm making much more. But again, at the end of the day, it's a negotiation. They might design another contract and so on and so forth. But the main point is different contract designs and, you know, end up with different contract profit shares or profit realizations. And some contracts like this one and the part in the BB result in win-win solutions in comparison to the original wholesale price contract. So with this, I stopped the exercise. As I said, the solutions are already available and uploaded on the Blackboard. And I want to finish with basically talking about, you know, by introducing the second part of the project. For this, just bear with me a couple of minutes, and let me just pull the project description. All right, I'm back. So let me share my screen and then get to the story of the yes, the right screen. So now we in the second part. In the first part, remember you were operating in country or the region color pair. Now the doors will open for you to spread your business to all over the Panjshir, the whole continent and composed of 5 different regions or 5 different companies. So let's just move on. So the idea here is, and again, some product description here, and I'm going to, by the way, upload or this link to you and share this link with you so you can actually browse through these pages and look at the details later on yourselves as well. So we talked about the product a little bit, that this product is going to cease to exist and on day 1460. I mean, that details I am skipping. Now let's just look at the new part. Kalupia air conditioner retrofit kits. This is the business that you know, you've been familiar from the first part. The original application of the foam was for kits to retrofit or repair old industrial air conditioners. The properties of the foam made it possible to improve the efficiency. I mean, it's just defining the product. Let me just skip this. The size of orders is very random with an average size of 7 or 8. Orders also arrive randomly. Now, there is a market in Orange for hardwood floor laminates. And it says that although order size and arrivals are random, the long-run average demand will grow linearly from day 640 until day 1430. The average order size is about 8 drums, and then demand is not seasonal. Remember, in Kalupia, the demand is seasonal, but steady. There is no trend. In Orange, there is no seasonality, but there is trend, positive trend, and it increases linearly from day 640 to 1430. And you will see that in the data, and then you can see the rate in which it grows. Then there is another product, premium home appliances, and there is market there from 2 markets actually, Tyron and Fardo. Orders arrive to Jacobs directly from the appliance factories. Both order size and order arrivals are random. Demand began on day 640 and grew to its final long-run average a month later. So it just increases for 1 month, then after that it is steady. Long-run average demand is not seasonal and it's not trending either upward or downward. The average order size about 8 drums. Then we have Antwerp. In this case, we have basically the manufacturer itself uses a reorder point policy where 250 units are purchased whenever its inventory drops to a predetermined level. And this level is not mentioned, but they always order 250 units. So you have an order for 250 units, and a while later, you're the supplier, right? Another 250 units, maybe, right? Orders have arrived randomly, demand and this is also looks like steady, right? It doesn't say there's any seasonality or any trend. But the difference is they come with batches, 250 units at a time. Yeah, the long run average demand is not seasonal and is not trending either upward or downward. And finally, there is another market for private airplanes in Fardo, the island. A make-to-order assembler of single-engine airplanes uses the foam as an insulator. The order size and order timing are random. Although the average order quantity is about the same as that of the appliance factories in Fardo and Thailand, described earlier. Demand began on day 640 and stabilized by day 670. So it increases in 30 days. Again, another 1 month, it stabilized. Long-range demand is not seasonal and it's not trending, either upward or downward. Okay. Okay. So let's look at this overview. Jacobs distribution network consists of a single factory right now and a single warehouse, both in Calopia, which you are familiar with, which is the setting that you've always been having, you had in the first part. The warehouse only supplies air conditioner retrofit kit manufacturers who are all in Calopia. Jacob produces its chemical in batches, loads the chemical into small plastic drums, and then transports the drums to the warehouse by truck. The warehouse sends drums to customers as orders are received. New markets. About a year and a half into operations, Jacobs began looking for new markets and discovered a handful of industries where Jacobs foam would be a superior substitute for the insulating foam currently used in those industries. Marketing campaigns for these target customers began on day 640. Regular communication with its target customers allows Jacobs to monitor the demand for its product in each of the new markets. However, Jacobs had not begun actually selling to any of the new markets yet. Jacobs is only selling to the original market in Calopea. So you need to make, as the management, you need to make the next couple of decisions. Which new markets should Jacobs sell to? When should Jacobs begin serving its new target markets? Should Jacobs continue to serve its original market? Should the factory in Calopea be expanded? Should factories in other regions be built? Should warehouses in other regions be built? How should Jacobs schedule production? How should inventory in the warehouses be managed? How should chemicals be transported from factories to warehouses? Which warehouses should serve each target market? You have been hired to make these decisions. Your goal is to maximize cash position generated by the foam technology over its lifetime. On day 1460, the technology will be obsoleted by another technology currently in development. So there are some production details, and I think you are somewhat familiar with this, and I'm going to leave the details to you to look at them. That this basically tell you about your capacity of the factory, right? One thing that you should be careful here, the cost, it says here, the cost of a factory building is $500,000 regardless of the factory capacity. So in other words, it's a fixed cost of opening a factory. So if you want to open a new factory, let's say in one of the regions, let's say Antwerp, you have to spend $5,000, $500,000. That's it, regardless. I mean, this is like a lump sum payment, let's say overhead. Now, on top of that, of course, you need to create capacity, and you have to pay $50,000 for one drum capacity. So, for example, as it's pointed here, the cost to build a new factory with a capacity of 5 drums per day is $500,000 plus 5 times 50,000, $750,000. So, regardless of the capacity that you choose, the fixed cost of $500,000 should be there. So adding an additional capacity of 2 drums per day later would cost $100,000. So if you want to add capacity later, you don't have to pay the fixed cost. Fixed cost is only at the beginning. As in the previous case, it takes 90 days to either construct a new factory or to add capacity to an existing factory. The cost of the factory is incurred as soon as construction begins, as is the case in the previous part. Capacity cannot be retired. Production in factories is carried out in batches, where each batch is an integer number of drums set by you. The cost to produce one batch equals to $1,500 plus the number of drums in the batch times $1,000. For example, the cost to produce a batch of 10 drums is $1,500 plus 10 times 1,000. And that amount to $11,500. And if you have warehouse cost $100,000, you can assume that there is no limit in capacity for warehouse. So you can stock any number of drums there. So you don't have to deal with the capacity decision there. But you need to decide whether you want to open a warehouse, a new warehouse in a region or not. It takes 60 days to build the warehouse, and the cost, as in the previous case, incurred immediately. Jacobs pays insurance and other out-of-pocket holding costs. So you are still wherever the warehouse is. The company is going to incur a holding cost of $100 per drum per year. All right, then the transportation. Now we have a couple of different type of transportations. One truck still can carry 200 drums, and you have the mail option. Now, if you were to produce something and distribute in the same region, the cost per truck is $15,000, or cost to mail one drum is $150. This is like if I have a factory in Fredo and I'm distributing in Fredo, or Calepia and I'm distributing in Calepia, right? But however, if you send it to a different region, but on the continent, that's excluding Fardo. So let's basically quickly look at the map. Remember this Fardo, remember it's an island. So it's disconnected to the main island, main land. So that's what it's meant there. Here, when you look at, says different regions on continent, which is, let's say from Calepia to Antwerp. It's 220,000. So if you cross the border, a land border, it's 20,000, and the mail is 200. Now, between the continent and Fardo, and both ways, it's 45,000, and the mail is 400. Pretty steep, pretty expensive compared to the others. So whatever you ship from Fardo to the mainland, or from mainland to Fardo, that's the price. And actually, if you look at down, the lead times are pretty long too. The truck takes 14 days, and mail takes 2 days between the continent and Fardo. Otherwise, they're similar, 7 days and 1 day respectively within the region or across regions, as long as they are in the continent, on the continent. Okay, all customers will pay $1,450 per drum. The drum must be shipped within 24 hours, otherwise you lose the order. All order fulfillment is by mail, so the cost to fulfill an order is, this is what it means. Remember, the previous transportation is between the factory and the warehouse. Now, from warehouse to the customers is all mail, and the costs are given down there. Interest accrues on cash at 10% per year, compounded daily. So what are you trying to now? What are you going to do? You need to make you actually have the flexibility and authority to make the following changes. You can open new factories and warehouses and regions outside Calepia. Calepia already have both of them, so you don't need to. Capacity additions to existing factories. You can add capacities, increase capacities once you create them, and you can still continue adding if you want to. Have the option of adding capacity to Calepia. And by the way, you start from reset, right? You don't continue from where you start in the first game. It goes back and rewinds to the initial conditions. For each factory, the finished goods inventory level at each warehouse that would trigger production of a new batch for that warehouse. For each factory, the size of batch produced for each warehouse. Whether the batches are transported from each factory to each warehouse by mail or truck. So your objective is to maximize the cash generated by the foam technology over the remaining 2 years of its lifetime. On day 1460, the game will end and all inventory and capacity will be obsolete. The simulation will run and continue. So these are some details. Okay, the memo issues there. Yeah, you need to turn in a 4-page memo, a maximum 4-page memo. In other words, it doesn't have to be. Now, the rest are things that you're familiar with. One thing that I remember in this environment is to make sure that, well, you know, the priorities. Remember, you're familiar now because you played around those dashboard. There's this thing, priority for a warehouse. Now, because in the new game, a single factory can feed multiple warehouses. Now, in that case, you might give priority to certain warehouses, right? I mean, let's say if you're in Calipea, let's say that factory is assigned to a warehouse in the same region and another warehouse in Antwerp. And then you can just say that, okay, the priority should be the local warehouse, then you will assign a higher. So it means that if there is any pending order for both warehouses and you have a product, of course, the warehouse that has a higher priority will get the product. That's basically the understanding. And again, I'm going to post the detail, I mean, this link and the when it's going to start, when it's going to end, and it's going to start on Tuesday next week. December, no, that's November 29th, and same cycle like this one. And we will have a chance to meet actually before the game starts on Tuesday. So if you have any questions, I will, you know, you will have a chance. And I intend to, of course, I intend to actually make the data available to you at least 20, well, not at least, but 24 hours before the game start, like on Monday evening or so. However, I may forget it. So please do send me a reminder email if I do that, because I want to give you the chance to look at the data before the game starts, because I want you to think about the problem. And probably this is a lot, right? You have now multiple markets, multiple regions, too many things. Well, not too many things, but more things to consider with respect to the original game. So you might need to spend a little bit of time with data before the game is on. So again, I will follow up with some uploads and announcements. And of course, also, I am going to assign your homework. This will be last homework, which will be due on December 2nd. Yes, December 2nd, that's a Friday, by 6 p.m. After that, I will post the solutions. So I will not be able to accept any submission after Friday, December 2nd, 6 p.m. I'm going to try and open a portal for you to upload your homework, or you can basically bring it to me in my office or bring it to the class on Thursday if you finish earlier. What else? Because we need to do that because your exam is going to be on the 9th, and I like to actually make the solutions available on Friday night, so you will have the weekend to take a look at them. And then on Monday, I will have, before the exam, have office hours, and if you have any questions, and you will have a chance to stop by. So that's the plan going forward. But for now, I guess, well, I mean, you should start maybe working slowly on your homework. But of course, while you're doing that, I really hope and wish that you can also enjoy your Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving break. We are set to meet again on Tuesday, November 29. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Otherwise, I guess this is a good point to stop for me. See you next week.